Hey guys, what's up? It's Sane4414 or Tony. How's everyone doing today? And Andi Mac Season 2 Episode 25 just aired. It is the part 1 to the Season 2 finale. It was called We're On Cloud 10. Interesting episode since they spent a good chunk of the episode in Cloud 10. But anyway, I'm gonna try to break this into two parts, because it was more or less broken into two parts. The first part focused on, let's see, it began with Andi making coffee for Becks. Well, Andi thought she did a good job, because she woke up Becks, and Becks is like, so why'd you wake me up? She's like, oh, I made you coffee. So, Bex tried the coffee, and she said it was good. And then a few seconds later, you see her go, sorry, plants. And I assume she dumps it in the plants, so it wasn't very good. Whoops. And then he says, okay, next time I'll work on eggs. Yeah, at some point, Bex needs to tell Andi that wasn't a good idea. Then, Bex and Celia are in Cloud 10. They're trying to figure out I was about to say a logo, but no, like, I guess it's kind of a logo, like a saying, because a lot of places you have like a saying that you say to kind of set up the station, like when people first come in. And it's kind of like my YouTube intro. But anyway, so they're working on that. They can't really come up with anything good. Bowie comes in, has a flower for Bex. No, not for Bex, sorry. For Celia. And the funny part is, like, Bex is like, is it for me? He's like, no, not for you, plant murderer. He wasn't being mean or anything, he was just kind of joking. But anyway, so he gives it to, Celia. Then, let's see. Buffy sees Cyrus with Amber, and she's like, see, you're doing it again, because he's friends with DJ, who she doesn't like, and now he's friends with Amber, who she doesn't like. Except she says he's friends with, like, not good people. Anyway, the other part of this episode involves Jonah and Andi going on their first date. And in typical fashion, you see Bex wanting to take a picture of them as they go, and you see Bowie wanting to ask a lot of questions. Typical mother-father thing. And we even get an interesting nod, because Andy's just like, okay, I'm leaving, and she just leaves. Meanwhile, Bowie is like, so did this happen on our first date? And her answer is, or, Bex's answer is no, because she kind of just went out the window. That's cool. Anyway, and the last part of this episode is them on their date. They have fun, but, Jonah has some sad news for Andi. Because Andy's like, Jonah's giving her all these compliments, and Andy's like, well, you need some compliments for the second date. And she was like, how about going to this place? Either this next weekend or the weekend after. And he says he can't. And the reason is because he's going to camp for training for Ultimate. Which is actually a good thing, I think. Because in the last episode, he said, they were mad, phone's ringing, because they were like, the coach didn't get in because of the coach. So he's like, it gives him something to strive for. So he's going to work on that over the summer for 8 weeks, which is fine. And he'll be back sooner than they know it. Meanwhile, The next episode, or the second half of the episode, well, she gets back. She's kind of sad when she finds out. And so she's like, I need to process this on the ground. So they go down. They go to the trampoline park, by the way. They're having a lot of fun. But they go down. It basically ends with her heading back, and she's kind of sad. They're both kind of sad. They say bye to each other. He drops her off at Celia's. She goes in Andy's shack, and Celia pops up. Scares her, because she didn't know she was there. I don't think either of them knew they were there. But Celia's there because she's also kind of sad because she's missing Ham. Because Ham is still gone. Or Pops, rather. Either one. But anyway, so meanwhile, in the second half of the episode, so Jonah and Andy had a date, and in this other part of the episode, Becks and Bowie kind of have a date. Becks is like, they could go out or they could stay in, so they decide to stay in. Becks is like, I kind of want food, I'm kind of hungry, so Bowie makes food. They watch a show, and they watch like a bunch of episodes. Becks falls asleep. Bowie says he loves her, and then he leaves. Meanwhile, Amber or Cyrus is taking after his parents and becoming a counselor of sorts, trying to kind of get Amber and Buffy to be friends. He's like, hey, I have a game we can play. And she's like, no, because last time we were in your parents' office, we played the game that should not be named. But it's another game where they basically say they pretend secret or whatever, or pretend fear. And Buffy's like, okay, I'll go first. My fear is, in comes Amber, being locked in a room in a closed space with that, meaning Amber. So at that point, Cyrus takes it upon himself to basically start asking questions. Like, he asks Buffy, why does she not like Amber? And she says basically because of all the stuff that Amber did to Andy. And Cyrus says, they're not talking about Andy, so why doesn't she like Amber? And she says, basically because... Actually, I don't think she has a reason. Or she does, but I can't remember it. But then they ask Amber why she doesn't like Buffy. Amber says because Buffy doesn't like her. That's her issue. So they start laughing over something. Over the fact that at the beginning of the episode, Cyrus had a briefcase thing, like a really big briefcase. And they were laughing about that because he's like, oh, that's something you did in the 90s. I remember I grew up in the 90s, and 90s and early 2000s, we carried, like, big books and everything. And I carried something called a bro writer, which is like a 13-pound machine used that you have to actually carry paper in it to write, as opposed to now, I carry, like, a machine that you just type on it, and then you can print out stuff. So, I know how it is. But it was really funny. So they kind of bonded over their laughter of Cyrus having that. And the ending of this involves Andy getting back and talking to Becks about her date after she had talked to Celia. But anyway, she talked to Becks about her date, and she called it a Dr. Seuss book. It's funny because right after that, she's like, oh, well, Becks, or not Becks, why do I keep saying that? Celia was holed up in Andy Shack like the Lorax. So it's really funny. But anyway, after all that, dang it, I can't remember names. Becks tells Andi, it's like, oh, well, we need to do stuff. Like, we need to do stuff together. And Andy's like, we could go to, I think they said Adrenaline City. There's a new roller coaster. They could do that. She's like, yeah, we could do that. Or we could do something else. Or we could do something else. Or I could propose to Bowie. And she asked him, Andy's like, no, Bex is like, did you hear me? And she's like, wait, you were serious? She's like, yeah. She's like, wait, did he ask you without me knowing? She's like, no, I'm gonna do it. So, yeah, Bex wants to propose to Bowie, and they're gonna work on setting it up in the next episode. So, in my opinion, this is just the theory. I don't think it'd be great if it just went off with a hit, like a hitch, with no hitch. But I have this weird feeling that what may happen is, and I just thought about this. Maybe the guy that Bex mentioned a long time ago is gonna come back into the picture. The one that was in the toaster tart box. Maybe that guy's gonna come back into the picture, and she doesn't like him, but he was still like a toxic relationship for her. So maybe that's gonna come into play. Or I don't know, because I don't think it's gonna go off with a hit, without a hitch. There we go. That's the saying they always use. I think it's gonna end with him probably saying, because that's usually how cliffhanger episodes have ended as of late with stuff like that. And apparently TJ's gonna be in the next episode. So TJ and Buffy are gonna meet up again. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But anyway, I will see you guys next week for the season finale of season 2. Until then, I've been saying 4414. God bless you guys. Stay safe and peace.